And now proudly presented by Stadium Crashers. 14 stadiums, 4,000 miles, 9 days, the road trip of a lifetime. It is Sweet Home SEC. Pull up a chair, grab yourself a nice cup of sweet tea, because we've got your college football action right here. Noah Groniger, Clint Schweitzer. Guys, thanks so much for joining us. We are off and running. College football has exploded, and I tell you, there's a lot going on. There's upsets. There is insanity. There's boneheaded decisions. There's blowouts. There's beatdowns. There's a lot going on, Noah. This is a great week, and we want to send everyone to stadiumcrashers.com to check out the documentary Stadium Crashers. That is our title sponsor here at Sweet Home SEC. Noah, coming off this game, I'm home from Columbia. The dust has settled a bit from what was a really tough loss for the Missouri Tigers against the Georgia Bulldogs. Maybe Missouri a chance to get that statement win here under Barry Odom. Needed it badly. Georgia rallies late. Yeah. You got to like what you see from Jacob Eason. He looks like a stud. But Missouri shut down Nick Chubb, 65 yards rushing. If you'd have told me that, I would have said Missouri wins this game. They didn't.
No,
Tough
this was
loss
about
for the Tigers.
It was. This was about 4 players for me, and kind of on the same position, Isaiah McKenzie versus Jamon Moore at wide receiver. McKenzie's got the 122 yards, 2 touchdowns. Jamon Moore, 196 yards, 2 touchdowns. But Jamon has that costly fumble at the end of the game. And you look at Jacob Eason, 308 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. Drew Lock, 376 yards, 3 touchdowns, which is huge for him. Really growing in his development, showing a lot. But those 3 interceptions, it's about the mistakes for the Missouri Tigers. Yes, Georgia had 2 missed field goals, but those mistakes prove costly, and you can't have those if you want to win in the SEC.
Well, we're going to be talking about this game and the Missouri Tigers' future with our guest, TJ Moe, coming up here in a little bit, former Missouri wide receiver and a writer for GridironNow.com, and he wrote an article saying that Drew Lock may be the best quarterback in the SEC today. Controversial, yes. Arguable, maybe. I still think he might put Chad Kelly over Drew right now.
Yeah.
But Drew Lock, get this, Noah. Stats don't lie right now. 1,100 yards, 9 touchdowns already through 3 games this season. Noah, last year, Drew Lock had 1,400 yards and 4 touchdowns over the course of the season as a true freshman.
That's insane. I mean, people wanted to anoint Josh Dobbs, and rightfully so. He looked like he had a great season last year, looked like he was going to progress, and Tennessee was really going to be something this year. It just hasn't come to fruition. They haven't shown me anything. They haven't been impressive. I'd say Drew Lock's definitely the best quarterback in the SEC East.
Well, before we get to our guest, TJ Moe, I want to go through kind of where we sit here in college football. We've seen Ohio State go in to Norman, absolutely beat down the Oklahoma Sooners. Boomer Sooner, no more. The Big 12 all but out of the college football playoff. That's a big storyline coming in here to week 4. The Big 12 out of the playoff unless Baylor makes a run. That's unbelievable.
And you don't expect Baylor to make that run and go undefeated the rest of the way. And you thought Iowa was still out there. They had a chance. They had an easy game against North Dakota State. They should be in it.
It's never easy when you play the Bison, Noah. Never.
When will teams learn? Just stay away from the Bison.
Oh, gosh.
FCS doesn't mean FCS for all those teams, and North Dakota State is proving why.
It probably should mean a bump up in division. They should probably be in FCS, in the FBS, and they should probably
Big 12's looking for
in
teams.
The Big 12. Jeez, no kidding. Well, they maybe their only chance to get to the playoff in the future.
Yeah.
But, I want to talk about this. Interesting topic as we've seen a few games now. Divisions. Every major conference has them except for the Big 12, so we'll just forget about them for a minute. They're out of the playoff. What's the best division in college football right now? You got the SEC West.
Yeah, I hear you there. But
you got the Big 10. What is it? The Leaders Division? Are we still calling it that?
Ohio State, Michigan State.
I think that was the Legends Division. Sorry, they've changed the name since then. Of course.
ACC Atlantic.
East and West.
With Clemson, Florida State,
who do you got?
Louisville. It's tough. I say it's got to be either Big 10 because you've got Michigan State, Michigan, Ohio State. They've all really showed out, looked impressive this year. But then you've got 2 really good football teams. Clemson, you think they're going to find their way and really be impressive coming down the stretch. Louisville, they've just hammered Florida State. So.
Lamar Jackson's your Heisman frontrunner
exactly.
Today.
So I think I'm going to have to go ACC Atlantic. I don't see the SEC West. Yeah, you've got Alabama, but who else do you have after that? You've got a Texas A&M team. Yeah, they can start off seasons fine, but they're going to fail and falter down the stretch. LSU, they have no idea what they're doing at quarterback. Ole Miss has already lost 2 games. So as strong as the Big 10 is, I'm not real high on Michigan State. Michigan struggled against Colorado. I think I'm going to go with the ACC Atlantic.
Can't really disagree with anything except that you said, except for this. The SEC West is going to win the national championship this year.
Well,
Noah.
yeah, Alabama.
Alabama's
Yeah,
going to win the national championship. Those other schools aren't.
You got me there. Yeah.
So the SEC West, to me, is still... Now, look, I know Auburn is struggling. I know LSU still can't find a quarterback. We're going down to Baton Rouge for Saturday night in Death Valley. Next week as Missouri takes on the LSU Tigers. Look for us down there, everybody. That's going to be fun if we survive.
You can find Eddie Kennison's tailgate. That's where we'll be, the great former LSU Tiger wide receivers.
Hopefully welcome some Missourians down there. He's a Missourian himself now. He played for the Chiefs.
We'll be selling our Stadium Crashers DVD down there.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think that the matchup in the SEC to watch this week doesn't come from the West at all. No, it comes from the SEC East, because Tennessee and Florida are going to play football again on Saturday in Knoxville. Now, we've been to Knoxville. We know what it's about. We know what Neyland Stadium's about. We know what over 102,000 can be in that stadium. But I want you to consider this for a minute, Noah. I know you're a time guy. You're a nostalgic person. You like to look back on yesteryear. So
it's hard to focus during the show. I keep looking back to yesteryear. Great moments of the past.
Look back to this, if you will.
I will.
The last time the Tennessee Volunteers beat the Florida Gators was 2004.
I believe that's 11 games in a row.
When Ashley Simpson was atop the pop charts with songs like "You Make Me Wanna La La." Noah, the last time the Tennessee Volunteers beat the Florida Gators, Paris Hilton was a real celebrity. Let that sink in for a minute. And the last time Tennessee beat Florida, I was just a pencil-necked geek bumming gas to put in my car to get to college. Okay, that part hasn't changed at all. But you know what? 11 straight games.
Oh, I was thinking of One Night in Paris. Sorry.
Is that... I'd forgotten all about that. Is that still on DVD, or they moved that to
I have it on my
digital
iPad
copy?
here. I have it on my computer.
I'll tell you what, but you know what? Going into Neyland Stadium, going into this game, forget it. I've still got the Gators. Chomp, chomp. They're going to Neyland Stadium, and it's going to be all Gators.
There's no Luke Del Rio. You've got
Austin Appleby coming in, another Purdue transfer.
2014, 10 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. 2015, 8 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. 1 step forward, 1 step back.
Hey, you've got Purdue transfers everywhere around college football. Austin Appleby's coming in.
Cam Sutton's out for the Volunteers, but I'm going Josh Dobbs. They get the monkey off their back. I'm all in for Tennessee. The Volunteers get the monkey off their back. It's not going to be 12 in a row. The streak stops here for the Gators. It's Volunteer time, folks.
I guess I have to wear this shirt for the rest of the show, because if I try to take it off, it's so tight on me, I'll probably take my other shirt off with it. So
I look like the Incredible Hulk if I put this thing on. So
I think this is going to stay on. So I hope everyone's okay with that as we talk about other games. But
avid Florida Gator fan over here.
Well, hey, another one that intrigues me a lot is going to be this Georgia at Ole Miss. Ole Miss coming off a devastating loss, but I'll tell you what, Alabama goes in there. Ole Miss has another 24-3 lead against Alabama. They give it up. Alabama surges ahead. Ole Miss rallies late, just shy and of beating Alabama for a third straight year. I think Ole Miss gets the monkey off their back this week. They're going to build a big lead. This time they're going to keep it. I don't think Georgia is ready for the big time yet.
Georgia doesn't have that firepower. Chad Kelly, Akeem Judd, Evan Ingram, DeMaurier Stringfellow. That's too much offensive firepower for Georgia to deal with. They're going to hit it big. They're going to hit it often. I like Ole Miss not only to win this game, they don't lose a game the rest of the season.
Hey.
Ole Miss, they've learned their lesson against Florida, against Alabama. Big leads, they let them go. There's 2 quality football teams, although Louisville would tell you otherwise about Florida State. But Ole Miss will not lose a game the rest of the season, starting with this one against Georgia.
Well, I'll tell you what, we're going to get into the SEC. We're going to get into talk more about the Missouri Tigers, a team that plays Delaware State. That's not something we're going to be analyzing. I know we've received a lot of tweets on our Twitter at GASN Sports.
I have 3 pages of notes here. I can't use them.
We're not going to be breaking down that game at all. For this is going to be about Missouri going forward. We're going to do that right now with our guest at this time. He had 188 career catches at Missouri. It is TJ Moe. TJ, man, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us here on Sweet Home SEC. Obviously, really disappointing loss for the Missouri Tigers on Saturday against Georgia. But, are you over the loss yet? What can you take from this, and what do you see going forward?
I was upset like the night of. Just it rips your heart out when you guys lose like that. But, man, I woke up optimistic. What a turnaround from last season. I think it goes to show you what a change in philosophy can do for you, what some coaching can do for you, what Josh Heupel's been able to do with Drew Lock. I mean, I truly think he's a guru as a quarterback coach. I think moving Andy Hill back to receivers coach was probably the move of the offseason because he's a guy that pumps out All-Americans at that position. And you moved him away to a position he wasn't as comfortable with at quarterback, and I think both positions suffered for it. Now you're starting to see the fruits of the move, and it could be something pretty special here.
Now, TJ, do you see a signature win on this schedule for the Missouri Tigers coming up, or is this going to be a team that struggles and claws and fights their way just to try and get to that 6-win mark?
So I've been sitting in with 101 ESPN in the Fast Lane for the past few weeks, and one segment that we do on the show is a take it or leave it. And in my first day in there, I said, all right, guys, take it or leave it. Barry Odom beats one of the 4 teams you named, Georgia, Florida, LSU, or Tennessee. And I said, I'll take it. I think what really good coaches do is they win one they shouldn't immediately, even with players that they didn't necessarily recruit, even when they're still implementing their scheme. They get it done, they get it done fast. Just look at Jim Harbaugh last year. He's a great example. Those weren't his players at Michigan. Granted, Michigan had better athletes from day one than Missouri has right now. But really good coaches get it going, and they get it going immediately.
You wrote an article for gridironnow.com, and you talked about Drew Lock as possibly the best quarterback in the SEC right now. Just give us your thoughts on Drew and his progression. Obviously, you think very highly of him. To put him up with the likes of Chad Kelly, and maybe Drew is one of the best quarterbacks in the SEC right now.
I made that argument. A lot of people, there was a lot of people who pushed back on that Drew Lock may already be the best quarterback in the SEC. I think Chad Kelly's probably got that title right now, but I think Drew's probably second. I think Jacob Eason's got a lot of potential. Obviously, he showed that on that 4th and 10 play against Missouri to win the game. He's going to be good. He's a true freshman here. I think Luke Del Rio's going to be good down at Florida. And you've got some guys. I mean, LSU can't even find a quarterback. Auburn right now can't even find a quarterback. Obviously, I think Trevor Knight's a pretty good player down at Texas A&M. But generally speaking, certainly talent-wise, I could make the argument that Drew Lock has the best potential skill set of any quarterback that Mizzou has had, at least in recent years, since I can remember. And then that includes Chase because he's like 3 or 4 inches taller than Chase, and he has a stronger arm. Chase had the best touch of any quarterback, and he had the best brain of any quarterback Mizzou's probably ever had. And certainly his stats back that up. He's been the best quarterback and arguably the most important player that Mizzou's had in recent history. But I think just from a potential skills standpoint, I think Drew Lock has got everything. He's got pocket presence. He's one of the few young guys that can stand in the pocket and see through the defense, meaning when there's a guy in your face, he doesn't budge. If the defensive line is coming, he can look right past him to the receiver, put the ball exactly where it should go. He's got great touch on his deep ball. He's now showing the ability to read some defenses. In fact, he made 3 mistakes. This is incredible. Mizzou was lost by 1 point. I think wasn't all 5 turnovers in the second half. Certainly 4 of them. I thought Jonathan Johnson's fumble was also in the second half.
Yeah, I believe so.
And so you have all that, and Drew Lock's interceptions, all 3 of them were into a cover 2 corner. And what that means is the corners have the short flats. You've got a fade going on the outside, and the safeties come over the top. The safeties were the ones that picked the ball. You had 1 bad throw in there, but it was all cover 2. So one thing you can do to stop that is you run an out route from the slot that occupies the corner. It opens the hole faster. But if the play's set up the way it is, Drew's just got to throw it a tick faster, and then those are touchdowns. The shot to Jamon Moore on that second-to-last drive after 13 plays when it was all run plays and he took a shot, if he hits it a tick faster, that's not an interception. That's a game-winning touchdown. That seals the victory for you. So those are little things that he's going to see on film. It's not like he's making a lot of mistakes all over. He's just able to kind of work through his one mistake and see it on film, and now he'll be off and running. I really love what I see from this kid.
All right, TJ, before the season you said you don't need a great offensive line to be a great offense. Mizzou's offensive line is playing well. Can you just expound on what you said before the season started?
The line had 3 starts combined coming into the season, which is just incredible. I think Alec Ablin had those 3 starts. Nobody else had ever started the game. And, you had some guys that you were counting on before the season that got hurt and it didn't work out. You got to give a lot of credit to Glenn Ellerby, who I think has done an incredible job. A lot of that is scheme as well. They're getting the ball out of his hands fast. The run game's not quite where you'd like it to be yet, but it's getting there, which showed certainly on that last drive of 13 plays where they're going. They're still hitting tempo. People are upset that you were leaving some time on the play clock, but I think the tempo actually was helping them. I mean, they were running right down the field with the run game. So I think you're absolutely right. That's been the biggest revelation of the season for me. I mean, they've been infinitely better on the offensive line, than I anticipated. Now, when I said that, again, I said that on when I was on the radio, and Curtis Gregory was so upset with me.
Yeah.
He's like, you're just throwing your teammates under the bus. Because what I said was, listen, on that 2007-2018, these weren't a bunch of NFL guys. I think Tim Barnes was on that 2018. He's starting for the Rams now. He's a very, very good center, but he was a young guy back then. I think he was just a sophomore. Could have been even a freshman at that point. And then I think you had Colin Brown, who played with the Bills for a short time. But it was a bunch of very good college players, but they weren't a bunch of world beaters. This wasn't an Alabama offensive line, and that was more my point. My point was they had some really good athletes that you could get the ball out of your hands fast through a bubble screen to J-Mac, and he'd take it to the house. And so it wasn't like you'd sit back there and protect all day. They had 6,000-something yards of offense, which was incredible. It was the best offense Missouri's ever had, probably 2007 and 2013. However, I'll still cling to the fact I don't think it probably wasn't the best offensive line Missouri's ever had. I would make the argument that in recent history, that was 2013, where they had 4 NFL guys on that line. So what they were able to do, though, is they had a really, really good quarterback in Chase Daniel. They had incredible talent on the perimeter, and they had a pretty good running back in Tony Temple that was quick. He could get through the holes. And you're also playing in the Big 12, where defenses could be good. We saw Oklahoma was very good at that time. But, again, you're not playing in the SEC type of defense where you got to push these guys around. So similar to what you're saying, the offensive line even this year is probably not a bunch of world beaters. These probably aren't 5 NFL guys that are just going to steamroll everybody. But, man, they're getting in the way. They're pass blocking remarkably better than we anticipated. And I think they've let up 1 sack the entire season. So you can't ask for much more than what they're doing right now in the pass game. They're going to continue to work in the run game, but I'm impressed.
Now, TJ, you were a great receiver here at the University of Missouri. Had 188 career catches. Very good representative for the university now. But I wanted you to talk about some of the weapons that Drew Lock has at his disposal now. I mean, you're seeing guys like Jonathan Johnson, Raymond Wingo, obviously Jamon Moore playing well. Just talk about the weapons Missouri has on offense and how much better that's looking than it did a year ago.
Absolutely. And honestly, I appreciate you saying that, but there's probably 5 or 6 receivers on this team that are a lot better athletes than I ever was. You know, I was a shorter, slower, try-hard guy that could make things happen in the middle of the field, but I was pretty worthless outside the hashes, and once you got past about 15 yards down the field, I couldn't do much either. But I tried really hard, and they like to throw me the ball occasionally, so we got some things done. But the guys they have on the team right now can run. And that's something that you can't teach. That was something I could never do. I wasn't going to run past you. I mean, man, I had to just scheme the snot out of you to get past you. I had to 3 or 4 fakes, try to drop you to the top of the route, use perfect mechanics. All my fundamentals just had to be perfect, so I had to work so hard at doing it. These guys just roll right by you. You know, it's Jonathan Johnson. He doesn't have perfect form in what he's doing. He's got so much more potential than I ever had because he has that speed. And the end product of somebody who has a lot of speed and then puts together all the fundamentals as a kid like J-Mac, who has the hands. I mean, even in the NFL right now, is like he's I think got the longest streak of catches without a drop in the NFL right now. I mean, he just absurd things that he's able to do, and he's got that speed with it. He's got the quickness. Some of these kids, I'm not trying to compare them to J-Mac, but because they have that speed, if they can develop the rest of their game, they have a lot more potential than I ever had. Jonathan Johnson, I think, is one of those kids. His stride, I mean, you guys watch him do the kick returns. His stride looks like Jeremy Maclin. It's effortless. The kid is just rolling. I think I owe Jamon Moore an apology if he continues the way that he's playing right now. I wrote an article after week 1, and I said, listen, my takeaway from week 1, you're treating Jamon Moore like a number 1 receiver. You targeted him 23 times. He only came up with the ball 8 times, had multiple drops. If he performs like a number 1 receiver against West Virginia, I think that's an entirely different game. Well, he comes out and week 2 didn't throw the ball a whole lot, but they're not in the game against Georgia unless he does what he does. I mean, the kid had 196 yards and 2 touchdowns, and that slant route that went for 6, the 79-yarder, is a play we haven't seen from a receiver. I mean, it looked like Dorial Green Beckham. It looked like Tenary Alexander. It looked like Jeremy Maclin. The ball was thrown behind him on a slant route, didn't break stride, reached back, made a move, and outraced everybody at the end zone. You can't teach that. That's stuff that only number 1 wide receivers can perform. It's something I couldn't have ever dreamed of doing. He came down with the ball when you threw it to him. He went up for it. He's strong. After he catches the ball, he's really difficult to bring down. In fact, on the last play, everybody was hating on him after the fumble. Guys, if he's got the ball in his other arm and he can knock down that hand, they're not tackling him. He's going for a score right there, and everybody's saying Jamon Moore just went for 250 yards and 3 touchdowns to win the game. We're celebrating him like he's the best receiver that's ever come through the program. I mean, that is, you're just a tick away from it being that. The kid is physical. He's got a lot of ability. And again, I said, listen, I don't think he's a number 1 wide receiver, at least today. He's not there yet. Well, he certainly was against Georgia. And if you see a lot more of that, look out, SEC, because these kids can play.
TJ, you grew up as a Mizzou fan. You also played at Mizzou. Do you take these losses harder as a fan or as a player?
As a player, no doubt. And that's why I always find it funny that, the fans are like, it's like you guys don't even care. And I'm like, what are you talking about? You see guys who are like just trying to get over it, right? Because they're so much more miserable than you are as a fan. The hard thing as a fan, specifically as a former player now, is there's nothing I can do about it, right? Before I could go out there and I could actually sort of try to change the outcome of the game based on my play. Now I'm just hoping somebody plays well, and that's hard. And you take the loss hard or whatever, but it's nothing compared to pouring your heart and soul into it all through 2-a-days and spring ball. And I mean, there are some miserable days in the summer. You're out there working so hard you can't breathe, and it's 100 degrees, and those pellets on the field are 130 degrees, and it feels like the plastic in your shoes are melting, and you're just out there killing yourself to hopefully get 5 catches in a game to help your team win. I mean, you think about all the work that goes in for such a small amount of time. Coach Hill always used to talk about it with us. Fellas, listen, 12 days a year, you get to go out and show the product of what you do the other 353 days. You got 12 days a year. That's pretty incredible to think about. And so when you go through and you're like, man, you don't have any time to waste. You're 353 days a year, you're killing yourself for these 12 days that you can go out and perform. So then when you do that and you don't perform, you come out on the shorter end, that kills. Sure, it hurts us as fans because we want our team to win so bad and we feel like Mizzou's been cursed, everything bad happens in the north end zone, whatever. I'm not into that, I don't believe that. But certainly as a player, these guys are still struggling. They're going to tell you, all right, 24-hour rule, we're over it. They're not over it yet. They will be by Saturday. But what they're looking at is film. What could I have done better? What could I do more? How do I move forward so that doesn't happen again? And by the way, they're still in this thing, guys. I mean, you go back to just a few years ago, 3-way tiebreakers in play. And certainly Georgia, they're ranked 12th, and now that's not the 12th best team in the country. I think they're a fringe top 25 team, and I think Mizzou's a better team than them. You had 5 turnovers, and you've lost the game by 1 point. You shut down Nick Chubb. You started to see the fruit of this defense a little bit coming around. You saw Charles Harris unleash a little bit, and you're seeing an offense that can really take advantage of a lot of different things schematically, and they got some athletes that can do it as well. So I think the SEC East is still in play. There's absolutely a chance this team ends up in Atlanta. You've got to get through Tennessee, who struggled throughout the year, has not looked that good. You got to get through Florida, who may or may not have their quarterback with Del Rio, and then obviously you're going to hopefully be able to get through Kentucky and Vanderbilt and such. And you'll have a shot at this thing. I know I'm rambling here, but really, more than anything, I stepped away far more optimistic after Saturday night than I was at any time last year and through the first 2 weeks of this year. I was really impressed by what we saw.
Well, TJ, thanks so much for catching up with us. We hope to make this a regular thing, maybe catch up down the season, hopefully seeing Missouri get some big wins, get a signature win. We can't thank you enough for joining us, man. Take care, and hope to have you on again soon.
You got it, guys. Anytime. It was fun, and always up for Mizzou chat, so we'll do it again soon.
And great to talk with our good friend TJ Moe, gridironnow.com. We wish him all the luck as he is auditioning now for ESPN Radio in St. Louis. That could be he's going to maybe be taking over to Marco Farr very soon. And we just thank TJ so much for joining us. And
he's a good one. He's got to get that. I mean,
yeah, you can't disagree with anything he said.
No.
I mean, you got to have hope. I'll tell you, it's still hard to. That was a game Missouri should have won. Missouri should be 2-1 going into this game. Should be 3-1 going down to LSU, and it's unfortunate. But I think you can see this Missouri team's a lot better than last year. You finally saw. You asked me last week about the pass rush. Charles Harris has 2 sacks against Georgia. Missouri looking better, but maybe this is not the season where the wins necessarily show that, and that's hard to do. College football is a lot different than the NFL, and that And it's hard to do this, but you could take a 6-6 season and point to things and say, well, this is so much better. You can look to the future. College football is not always a win now or else situation like the NFL to me is.
It's hard for those seniors, but you do look at it for the underclassmen and talk about just the positives and building on it and learning lessons like this Georgia game will be for this Missouri Tigers team, the entire team. Definitely Drew Lock is going to learn from it. Jamon Moore is going to learn from it. And you never quit. These teams are going to keep coming all game, all 60 minutes. So it's just a building block for them to take.
And guys, actually calling in right now, we have a call in.
A caller.
This is we're breaking stride here on the show. We have Shaun Smith, former Kansas City Chief, former NFL defensive tackle, played at South Carolina. Man wants to talk a little South Carolina, man.
Hey, I'm good with that. Let's go.
Shaun, what's up? I know you played for Lou Holtz down there. What was your experience like playing with that, with the program in South Carolina, and what are you seeing out of the Gamecocks so far, under Will Muschamp?
Yeah, I know they played Kentucky this weekend. They're playing for Lou Holtz. Where do I start? Great motivator. Great motivator. Great motivator.
Yeah.
Touching more about life than football, than the game of football. He was a big guy on reading, making sure guys read to get the knowledge. When I was there, we had a success, went to the Outback Bowl, had a good time. With the program now, it was going through a slump. Now I think it's trying to take a turn, getting Muschamp in there. But I still, deep down inside, I don't think Muschamp is the answer. It's all about your recruiting, getting coaches that know how to recruit and get guys that want to come in. That's just like, what I don't like about recruiting college football, what I don't like is, I feel like no school should offer a kid until his junior year in the spring. So you get kids that say they're going to commit sophomore year, I'm going to commit to LSU. Come your junior year, senior year, you come your senior year, you don't know if you really want to go to that school. Then coaches leave, different things changes. An 18-year-old, 17-year-old kid doesn't know what he really wants to do in life. So you have to have the right support team to help you guys. But this recruiting is getting out of control. And it's overrated to me because a lot of guys get missed. And you think this guy's a 5-star athlete, and everybody's going to recruit this guy. But what about the 3-star, the 2-star, the 1-star guy? Because I remember going to school, guys come in as a 5-star and leave as a 1-star. The guys that came in as a 1-2-star leave as a 5-star. And be the guy that make it to the pros.
And Shaun, talk to us a little bit about Williams-Brice Stadium. This is a team in the South Carolina Gamecocks that aren't always near the top of the SEC East, not contending for a division title, but the fans come out, and that is a raucous atmosphere. And what was it like just playing on that field in front of that crazy crowd?
When you hear that thing coming in the cock-a-doodle-doo, you hear all that coming out that tunnel and the smoke. I mean, that place chilled. And seeing all the fans in the stands, but not only that though, just the walk, the Gamecock walk when we go to, entering the stadium, the fans, no matter whether win or lose, like you said, that stadium is filled to capacity, and it's like, when it gets loud, it kind of reminds me of Arrowhead. It really does.
Yeah.
Like, you can feel it moving, and the fans are passionate, they tailgate, they just love it. They just want to see a team win, There's no professional football team here, so everybody's there. The closest thing is the Panthers. So I think, it's a great town, great college atmosphere.
Well, in addition to obviously Missouri, Delaware State, which is going to be watching that, of course. But no, seriously, aside from Michigan State, Wisconsin, which one of these two games are you going to be more likely to watch? Let me ask it like this: you got
Michigan State, Wisconsin.
Michigan State, Wisconsin, or Arkansas, Texas A&M.
Definitely Arkansas, Texas A&M. I mean, you've got Michigan State, you've got Wisconsin, two defensive football teams. This is the end of Wisconsin. They have Michigan and Ohio State after Michigan State. So this is the end of Wisconsin. I knew it. I told you that. Yeah. This is the end of Wisconsin, so there's no reason to pay attention to that game. It's definitely Texas A&M, Arkansas. If you want to see a 4-overtime game, that's definitely the game to watch. Exciting, two teams equally matched. So
this will go 4 overtimes. Every Arkansas game does, almost regardless of opponent.
Yeah.
And the last two games have come down, have I think gone to overtime in Arlington with A&M and Arkansas. This is going to be the same thing. I'm excited for this. Arkansas, just one of those teams. You got to like what you see from the running back Cody Walker. You like what Austin Allen is bringing at quarterback. He might be better than his brother Brandon ever was already here at Arkansas.
Raleigh Williams, the third for Arkansas, is a great running back.
Yes.
You're definitely looking at him. So.
Underrated defense, and
Yep.
I like this Arkansas team. Maybe right now the second best team in the SEC West. Don't look now, but we'll find out who that is. Find out all this and more. Guys, we can't thank you for joining us. Sweet Home SEC, our guest was TJ Moe. StadiumCrashers.com is where you can find the documentary Stadium Crashers. It's all about 14 stadiums, all SEC stadiums, a road trip, an unforgettable win.
A dream, living your dream, a journey, and
absolutely
not being held back by societal norms, just doing what you love.
And you know who was a part of that? That would be you and I. We were the ones doing it. StadiumCrashers.com. You can buy the DVD or stream it on Vimeo. So thank you so much for joining us here on Sweet Home SEC. Clint Schweitzer, Noah Groniger. Enjoy the games this weekend. And you know what? Hotty toddy, gosh almighty, because Ole Miss is going to come back in a big way. You mark that one down for me, my friend.
Oh, definitely.
Mark it down.
Yeah.
It's going to be one of those, for one, the crow's going to be insane.